You've seen the news, but this is just coming out now. Fox News, ICE begins first major immigration raids in New York City, but they're talking about ICE raids all across the country today. So apparently today may be day one of what is being described as a blitz. Your reaction?
Well, I think it's long overdue. We've seen increases in crime across the country. Sanctuary cities that used to, tell the government to stay out are asking people to come in and clean up their problems. So, it's probably one of the major election issues that President Trump ran on. We all ran on. Is either the economy or the border, and be careful what you ask for, because this is what people wanted, and this is what they're going to get. Especially the violent criminals. That's who he's targeting first.
Absolutely. And part of this audio with Selena Gomez, of course, is that she, like many others, they're trying to portray the president as going after, children and families, which is not what's happening. And so there is a dishonesty, and this tells you that the media still hasn't learned that there is a dishonesty where you have people in the media that are talking about and reporting that Trump is going after families and children. And he's not. And if you want to air quote children, yeah, he's going after maybe 13, 14-year-old gangbangers who are in middle schools, and they're recruiting other people for MS-13, which is exactly what happens. That's where MS-13 does a lot of their recruiting. I talked about this yesterday. Congressman, they do it in the schools, in the middle schools.
Exactly. And under Obama's Dreamers, what a great name, Dreamers. Most of the Dreamers were 16 to 18-year-old men who, in other countries, we don't have work, or they don't have the work restrictions we do in this country for young people. So people grow up quicker in tough environments. And so by the time you're 14, 15, 16, you can definitely be involved in criminal activities. We see that in our own country. So you can call a 15-year-old gang member shooting people a dreamer if you want to. I call him a criminal, and that's who Trump's going after.
So, Congressman, you were in the room yesterday when Donald Trump was speaking, and it made some news yesterday for a number of different reasons. But let's talk a little bit about one of the things that Trump said regarding taxes.
Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
So that is the audio that has everybody saying, well, the president seems to be intimating that he wants to eliminate all income taxes and make up for that revenue with tariffs. Tell me about the context and how do you interpret that?
Well, it's interesting. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about that, not whether it will work or not. There's always the risk of retaliatory tariffs from countries when you place tariffs on them that can impact businesses we have here. I think his message was pharmaceutical companies have moved overseas. Chip manufacturers have moved overseas, mostly in Taiwan. And he wants to incentivize those companies to come back to the U.S. I think he was talking like a 15% tax rate if you come and build in the United States. But he's already talked about not taxing tips, which has been around here in discussion for a while. He also talked about not taxing Social Security. Can you imagine how happy that would make seniors? And not taxing overtime. So there's a lot of tax cuts in there, and that's fine as long as you can offset them with tax revenue. So, the guy's a businessman. I'm willing to listen to his plan to see if it works. We just don't want to hurt American companies by foreign nations doing the same thing to us. But certainly, our tax code seems unfair. I've always been kind of a flat tax or a consumption tax person. But anything we can do to increase revenue and decrease the incentives for people moving their businesses out of the country, I'm certainly willing to take a look at.
Congressman Scott DesJarlais joins us here on Nashville's Morning News. Congressman, one of the things, well, first of all, real quick, because I've got people that ask me almost on a daily basis, where are we with no tax on tips? So I'm going to ask you, where are we at? I don't think he is, it's hard to keep up with all of his executive orders, I'm going to be honest. He has not executive ordered anything on no tax on tips.
No, he spoke of it again last night. He says there'll be no tax on tips, and so I don't know if that's part of the reconciliation package where we do the The tax extender, his tax cuts from 17 that we did through reconciliation are set to expire this year. So that's something that is on the front burner, and I would guess that it would be in that package. So he seemed pretty adamant last night that there'd be no tax on tips, and we'll see whether no tax on Social Security and the overtime also becomes a part of that. So I don't know when exactly it would take effect. Not exactly sure if that can be done through executive order, but it certainly was something he spent a bit of time on.
So, what was your general reception or perception as to how this conversation with Donald Trump went? Was it only Republican? Two-part question. Was it only Republicans in the room? And number two, how was it received? Because we are hearing from some that are saying that even within the Republican Party, there are some that are saying, okay, ease up on some of these executive orders and actions, because, some would say, I don't, but some would say that he's playing into the hands of what the left is saying, which is that he is acting like a dictator.
Well, executive orders are nothing new. On day one, Biden stopped the Keystone Pipeline, implemented New Green Deal or the Green New Deal, all kinds of things that he did. Now, Trump is definitely at a frantic pace from what we're used to. But, there's a lot of things that needed to be done immediately, especially with the border, remain in Mexico, drilling, energy policies. Most of what he's done, I think, is very helpful. He's wanting to end birthright citizenship, which was, as he mentioned last night, was designed originally during slavery for children born, and we want to get back to where there should be at least one U.S. parent involved to end this anchor baby type thing, because I think that's positive. I would say the room was very receptive. Trump is very upbeat. He's a different guy. They've been going after him really since he ran the first time, and their whole sole purpose, they being the media and everyone else that hates Trump, to keep him from being elected. Now he's been elected, so they really don't have that threat to deal with anymore. So I guess now they're going to have to attack his policies. But, he went through a myriad of things. I can't even list them all. Trump, he never has a long story. It just takes quite a while to make it short.
Yeah.
And so, he went through, the military. There's only going to be two genders, no female athletes or men competing in female sports, which is very popular. Recruiting in the military has been down. He's got Hegseth in there that's going to clean that up, get rid of critical race theory, DEI, and bring the military back to what it's supposed to be. Talk about how we're already respected around the world, and people are paying attention to us again. Went through just a myriad of ideas and thoughts that are too numerous to list. But I think overall, the message was unity. We always have a half a dozen people that can't get to yes, no matter how good the bill is. And I think everyone realizes for us to be successful, we have to stick together as a team. And that's hard to do when you have such a slim majority. But I do think it's important. I think I said on your show before, I've been elected in the 4th District of Tennessee, which is very conservative. I have a very conservative voting record, but they also overwhelmingly elected Trump and his agenda. And I don't think they would want me not to play along with his ideas and his policies within reason. And so, I understand that I'm going to take some votes that may have a little more compromise sometimes than I'm used to. But if it's what it takes to get the agenda moving forward and get the country back on track, that's what the nation voted for. And, that's what we intend to do. So I think there was a real message of unity. I think Trump was very well received. He was very relaxed. He danced to the YMCA on the way out again. And, it's just he's a different guy. He seems a little more charismatic, a little less abrasive. Still says things to antagonize the left-wing media. Talked about a third term. I know that's a joke, but I think he does that just to put a bee in their bonnet. So, but yeah, all in all, I think it was real well received, and we'll see once we get down to the making the sausage, if you will, how easy it is to keep people on board. But I know he's going to be directly involved with the people that don't see things his way.
717, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Congressman Scott DesJarlais is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Quick check for traffic on WTN. 717, your weather today, a high of 55. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Congressman, spending, congressional spending, and the budget always at the forefront of conversations. Where are we at with, one big bill versus two smaller bills and all of that? I mean, has there been a lot of conversation about that? And which direction is Trump going these days?
He seemed more neutral last night. We definitely want to do border issues first because it's literally destroying our country. And, he's sending troops to the border. He wants to, finish building the wall, put up all the barriers, do these deportations. And so, that seems to be what we're going after first. We definitely are going to look at making the tax cuts permanent. I don't have a preference personally. Maybe doing it all at once would be better if we could get it done. It's very complicated, and it's a big process, but it's an important process. In 2017, under Paul Ryan, we had about 3 things we wanted to get done: dealing with Obamacare, dealing with taxes, and really taxes were about the only thing we got done. So the more we can get done in the first reconciliation bill, I think the better, because Trump's window of opportunity starts to fade after this first year, because then we get into an election cycle. It's always tough to hold the House as a incumbent president in the midterm. So I think hitting the ground running here and getting as much done as soon as possible is paramount. The reconciliation we need to do, especially for defense. I sit on the Armed Services and Strategic Forces Subcommittee. We need probably 125 billion because of the CR to keep the military whole. With all the projects we have going, all those kind of come to a standstill. They can't start them until they get that funding. And so I think we're going to be focusing on the reconciliation here very soon, and hopefully get that done.
You must have,
April.
Congressman, if I may, you must have been thrilled with Pete Hegseth and his confirmation.
Yeah, I've not met the guy, I've not talked to the guy, but the troops and people who know him, they seem that he's very laser focused on bringing the military back to a lethal fighting force. Stop all the nonsense social programs that have hurt recruiting. The recruiting was off by like 25%. We're already seeing a reverse in that. Trump's also talked about reinstating soldiers who were separated from the military because they refused to take the COVID vaccine, which I thought was very unfair. These young people, should have been able to make their own choice, shouldn't have been forced to take it. It wasn't proven effective in preventing death in young people. And so, there's a lot of things that are going on within the military, and Hegseth seems to be a war fighter. And, his reputation is that, he's going to shake up the Pentagon. He's not a interrupter in a negative way, but he's going to be serious, and he's going to be different than some of the prior people we've had that just seem to go along with whatever Biden said. So I'm excited to hear from him. I'm sure we will soon. And, there's no better time to get our military back on track with the brush fires we have all over the world.
Absolutely. All right, Congressman Scott DesJarlais, always great to have you on. Have a great rest of week.